There are millions of actual military-grade weapons in the hands of Ukrainian civilians, thanks in no small part to the Russian invasion back on February 22nd of 2022. Why am I doing this video? Because what if I told you that as a result of all these weapons just pouring into civilian hands, crime went down 12%? All right, so let's quickly recap this in case you've been living under a rock and you have no idea what's going on. February 22nd, 2022, Ukraine is invaded for the second time by Russia in the last 10 years. Of course, this was a multi-front invasion. President Zelensky of Ukraine hands out tens of thousands of full automatic AK47s in the Kyiv region alone. All you needed to do was show an ID. Ukrainian officials took to the airwaves post-invasion to inform the citizens how to manufacture Molotov cocktails efficiently and where and how to attack Russian armored vehicles with them effectively. And it wasn't just improvised explosives like Molotov cocktails. It wasn't just AK47s, the real deal. The actual issue itself of civilians gaining access to virtually unprecedented in modern times Western society amounts of small arms continues. Since the fighting began, there have also been widespread reports of Ukrainian citizens capturing assorted Russian armored vehicles, including footage of at least one farmer allegedly finding and towing away an abandoned mobile anti-aircraft weapon system on his land, which emerged on Twitter. These reports and ones similar to them were so widespread that actually the government of Ukraine even released a statement claiming that captured Russian vehicles will not be taxed as income. God, that's sweet. Estimates and reports vary. I've linked some of those in the description box down below, but there are upwards of 5 million captured weapons in the hands of Ukrainians thanks to rapid Russian retreats following their, we'll capture the country in 3 to 5 days prediction that President Putin made. And of course, we all know that's not exactly where we are some 2.5 years later. As one Ukrainian official commented, these are not short-barreled weapons, but automatic weapons, grenades, mines, and even more serious weapons that are now in the hands of citizens. So if the anti-gun narrative is correct, that more guns equals more crime, then just imagine the actual war zone that behind the front lines are of what Ukrainian civilians must be going through in all these regions with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions, depending upon where you're looking. Keep in mind, it's not evenly distributed across the country, but certainly huge amounts of military-grade actual weapons and ammunition that have been literally distributed by their own government. Except, again, none of that is happening. Crime, as I mentioned up front, is down 12% according to a report that I just attached in the description box below. Crime down 12%. Now, admittedly, we've got a few variables at play. We've got a country at war. Who knows? It's very difficult to parse out, like, frankly, almost all statistics when it comes to sociology of there's never just one variable we tinker with. There's always dozens, hundreds, thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of variables at play at any point in time. So I'm sure an anti-gunner watching this video would say, the country's at war. The criminals are just on good behavior now, right? Isn't that naturally the argument that must be coming in here to push back on this narrative? It must be, because otherwise I'm not exactly sure what's going on here when you have a civilian population armed and crime drops down 12%. Guys, really quickly, be sure to hit that like button. Stick around because I'm also going to quickly cover other former Eastern Bloc countries such as Slovenia, Poland, and Estonia in this video. Comment down below. Do you think that any of this really matters to the antis when we keep bringing up all these statistics and evidence, whether from the United States or other countries, or does this all just get conveniently shrugged off and pushed underneath the rug? I kind of know the answer to that, but I'm also curious what you also think is the explanation for why crime is down in Ukraine post-invasion, post everybody being armed. Let me know. Again, hit that like button. Now back to the video. Now, interestingly enough, also attached in the description box below, this comes from the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime. I'm just going to read it because I found it to be funny. Quote, at present, although there is currently a requirement for all weapons in civilian hands to be registered in Ukraine's Unified Arms Registry, Many may be choosing not to register. Imagine that, people choosing not to register, as it goes on, as this would force them to return their means of protection at the end of the war. This massive stockpile of weapons and ammunition will remain invisible to the authorities and law enforcement agencies. On the other hand, the option of legalizing the weapons may make Ukrainians feel more comfortable registering them and take significant share of these weapons off the gray and black markets, end quote. So you just see an international blueprint for gun control here. It all happened in that paragraph where they're saying, look, believe it or not, most people are not complying with the registry. We've seen this time and time again in the United States. I calculated on this channel the likely compliance rate for the Protect Illinois Communities Act is somewhere between 4 to 6%. 4 to 6% for registration. That's what I saw. Go check that video out if you want to see me kind of walk through the math here. So imagine the fact that they are recognizing that, look, most people don't choose to register, so we should make it legal, then make them register, and that way we can take it away on the back end. Huh. Interesting. It's as if registration leads to confiscation. Amazing how that works, like it has at virtually every other time in history, regardless of where you look. We have to fight back against registration. We have to fight back against registration. I'll just quickly add here that, oh, by the way, according to another link in the description box below, that when you take a look at other European countries, such as when Estonia, fantastic Baltic state, when short-barreled weapons were allowed in 1992, which resulted in an 80% drop in crime registered between 1992 and 1999. In Poland, after citizens were allowed to buy and carry pistols and revolvers, crime decreased by 34%. Likewise, in Slovenia, when the same thing happened, crime decreased by 50% by similar legislative initiatives. Among other positive factors, it should be noted that the number of murders in these countries also decreased between about 20 to 22%. It's as if lawfully armed individuals protecting themselves discourages and deters crime and criminals. Amazing. You put a transaction cost on crime where if they break in your house in the middle of the night, something bad could happen to them. And amazingly, people are less likely to want to pay that transaction cost. In essence, that's another way of looking at the Second Amendment. That's another way of looking at concealed carry laws, open carry laws, castle doctrine laws, stand your ground laws. You are imposing a transactional cost on the would-be criminal for them to consider, oh, if I do this, I have an increased chance of meeting a not-so-good end. And amazingly, criminals are not nearly as dumb as people give them credit for. They understand they don't want more holes than they woke up with that morning. They understand that. Doesn't take a lot of math. They get that. And again, criminals are far more intelligent than people give them credit for. They will try to select their way out of the group who's going to wind up with a toe tag and into the group who's going to be looking for easy marks that will not fight back because they're unarmed, they're not vigilant, they're not aware, and they're going to go easy. So there you have it. Hopefully you got a little bit out of this video looking at not only how in Ukraine, but in other former Eastern Bloc countries as well, as their citizens gained the right to possess firearms, admittedly not anywhere near to the same degree or scale that we have here in the United States, but look what happened as a result. And here we have yet another case sample of more guns equals less crime. Be sure to hammer that like button, and now let's close out with our ever popular quote of the day. This one comes from one of my favorites, Marcus Aurelius, quote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." End quote. That can be hard sometimes, and there will be temptations coming up in the next 2 to 4 years, but people, I urge you to hold back. Do it the right way. That's all for this video. I will see you down in the discussion box below. That's the comment field, as well as in the next one. Take care. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this one, please feel free to check out some of our other great content, and we'll see you in the next one.